Bill Warwick IV, writer, author, investigative journalist, and UFO researcher. He attended Quincy College in Massachusetts, where he was very active in student government, and the Old Dominion University in Virginia, where he started a high-tech materials company. March 12, 1997, he witnessed a 400-foot-wide boomerang-shaped craft, not an aircraft, float over his head in Norfolk, Virginia. He immediately got on the intercompany CB radio and asked if anyone else in the area had seen anything. He called in sick the next day, and that was March 14, 1997. He was fired without any explanation after over a year's service. This began a 10-year quest to find out the truth, the lies, the disinformation behind the event in the Phoenix Lights, which occurred the evening after that incident. First-time guest, I think, William. I have never interviewed you before. How about Art?
Actually, yes. Art interviewed me back, I think, in September of 1998.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Welcome to the show. Well, refresh us a little bit, William. Tell us about yourself.
Well, you just
I did
my
it.
whole life.
I did it on one page of paper. That's it.
I'll tell you what, you're good at that. No, I mean you hit the nail on the head. I moved to Virginia in 1993. I went to Old Dominion University for a little while. As a mechanical engineering major, I came across some materials at NASA Langley that I thought were marketable, and basically dropped out my senior year to start a company to work with those materials, and we negotiated for license rights from Dominion Power, and then went on, to do other things. And not right now. I have a design build architectural firm, a small residential firm here in Virginia Beach, and just like you said, I went out to my my work truck on it was actually March 12th, 1997, not March 13th.
Okay.
And to get a business card, actually. And on the way back in, I witnessed it, just like you said. I thought at the time it was a 600 to 800 foot wide boomerang, but as I've gone back over the years and taken pictures and sort of triangulated everything, I realized that the craft had to have been a lot closer than I thought it was at first, and so that's why if someone reads the initial report, it'll say 600 to 8 feet, but the one that you've got is actually more correct, which is probably about 400 to maybe 600 feet wide, but probably closer to 400.
Was it unusual for you to get fired the next day? I mean, did you do anything?
I called in sick the next day, as you can probably imagine, which is March 13th.
Sick because you didn't feel good, or because of what you saw and you maybe wanted to investigate
out.
it? Okay, so you're going nuts. All right.
Well, it was really amazing because when I watched the whole thing happen, it probably took, a minute and a half or something like that. And time really seems to slow down when you're really focused on something like that. And I was actually over a friend's house watching the March Madness games. ODU was in the finals that year, actually. And I literally just stepped out to get a business card and came back, and my life was completely changed forever.
Sure, topsy-turvy.
Yeah, I tried to shout 3 times to him. I actually held back a little bit on telling this to a lot of people. I'm not even sure if it's in the initial report, but because I didn't want people to think I was crazy. And at the time, for months and months afterwards, I had no idea. There were no other reports. As everyone knows, the Phoenix Lights boomerang sightings didn't really break until probably June.
Right.
But
they were much larger than what you reported.
Yeah, but they were still boomerang shaped, which is kind of puzzling. And so I'm wondering if perhaps they had a perception problem too, because you know what? No one.
That's a good point.
No one alive knows what a 400-foot wide flying object looks like. They just don't, unless you saw a Zeppelin, 60 years ago. Even today's blimps just don't even compare to it.
No, and depending on the height of it.
Absolutely.
Nobody knows.
No.
You're right. I mean, if it's
you have absolutely nothing to judge against.
If it's really close to you and you're right under it, it could feel like it's a mile long, for crying out loud.
And also too, I want to make sure that the audience knows that what my qualifications are for making that kind of a comment. And when I was a young kid, I had a pretty tough life. I grew up in the South Boston housing projects, Old Harbor housing projects, which are now famous because of.
It's where Albert DeSalvo grew up. Remember him?
Whitey Bulger, yeah, that departed. I mean, all that stuff took place in my neighborhood. I grew up in those bars.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so what happened on that day was, it just changed everything. I mean, nothing else was the same.
You mean your career was over?
Oh, God. I mean, yeah. Not just my career, because at the time I worked for Roto-Rooter, and I called in sick the next day. Like you said, I mean, I was just shocked. I was just dumbfounded.
I mean, do you think your dismissal because you called in sick had anything to do with what you saw?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's no question. They even tried to deny me my unemployment benefits.
What did they say? We're letting you go because you're nuts, or what did they say?
No. It was never
that direct.
They couldn't say that, and they fought me on it. But they lost, and they had to pay. And I didn't take it for that long. I don't even know what it was, maybe a month or two. But anyway, when I worked for the company Roto-Rooter, you pay for the truck. You're a subcontractor, so they take money out for your truck, your radio.
So it's your truck, and what about the parts and things that are in?
They take it all back. I had nothing. I had a freaking sawzall and and a screwdriver, and so I lost everything. And all I did, there was only one other guy working that night. We were on call, and I just said, "Hey, man, I'm over here in Norfolk." I said, "You're never gonna believe what I just saw." I saw an 800-foot. I said 800-foot wide boomerang at the time. And just asked if anyone else had seen it, and that was it.
Well, other than size, it is ironic that this happens at the same time that we have the Phoenix lights.
Yeah, the night before the big flap, yeah, but there's more to it than that because obviously I wanted to find out what had happened because, there were no stories that were printed locally at all, none. And you were in the Navy, weren't you?
Yeah, 9 years.
All right. Were you ever stationed at Norfolk Naval Air Base?
No, Pentagon, Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indianapolis, and then a little bit in Pensacola.
Okay. Well, Norfolk Naval Air Station, in the Hampton Roads area, just for your viewers, if you're not familiar with it, is the largest military installation or collection of military installations in the world. There are over 250,000 active duty personnel within a 5-square-mile radius of Norfolk. And the neighborhood that I happen to be visiting my friend in on Rogers Avenue in Norfolk is basically situated, if you look at a map, is right in the middle of, surrounded by, nuclear sub-bases, carriers, the whole 9 yards. I mean, there is literally more nuclear power and more nuclear submarines within a quarter mile of where this event took place than anywhere else.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So for me to think that I saw this and that there was not a murmur of this anywhere really freaked me out.
Well, is it possible, Bill, that if this is, let's say, the same Phoenix Lights object, and people just got the size mixed up, is it possible, time-wise, that it would have gone from Phoenix through Norfolk, where you were, in that timeline? Would that have fit in? Well,
to answer that question, you would have to know or have some idea what the ultimate speed of the craft was. I forgot to make my point. I was getting ready to tell you what my qualifications were. And when I was a kid in Southie, and I'll be real brief with this, I wanted to be a pilot more than anything. Right around 1985, Top Gun came out, and I mean that's just what I wanted to do. And even when I went to ODU, I wanted to get a degree and then go to Officer Candidate School in Florida. And I had been accepted 2 years in a row to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which is the best civilian flight school in the country. And if you get a degree from them, or if you go get a master's from them, and then go into Officer Candidate School, I mean, you should have your ticket made.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to prepare for that, when I lived in Boston for about 2.5, 3 years, my uncle joined Civil Air Patrol to be a pilot. It's one of the things he always wanted to do. And so I got involved in that. I became a senior member with the Civil Air Patrol, and I was actually a spotter. And what a spotter does is he sits behind the pilot and the co-pilot, and his job is actually to look for downed aircraft, for debris, search and rescue missions, that kind of thing. And one of the reasons why I was chosen for that was, well, number one, I didn't have my pilot's license, but number two is because when you go to get your physical for that, they do a physical, and I had 20/10 vision.